everyone. It's Tuesday the 16th of November and it is release day. So yay, we finally made it. The books came, as you may have seen yesterday, in my unboxing video that was very short and a little bit awkward, but that's okay because I have a stack of books here that were made by us. I don't think you've met Mandy before, so I'm going to introduce myself just quickly and then hand over to her to tell you a little bit about herself. So I am Lesley Barklay. I am the author of Road to Bethlehem, and I am a mum of two, Joshua and Hannah, about whom this book is written. I am a Christian lady. I love Jesus. I live in rural New South Wales, Australia, in a little town called Moree. Not many people here. Obviously, we've got a lot of free time on our hands to just do creative stuff. We're not busy at all. I'm a teacher. I teach history and German at the local Christian school, just part-time. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I think. So over to you, Mandy.
So I'm Mandy Mitchell, and yes, I did the illustrations in Lesley's book, which was a great privilege. I also live here in Moree, but we're just out of town. I'm married to a builder, and we've got a little 10-acre block out of town, and I'm out there, just a little one. So I've got 6 children at home. My eldest now is nearly 21, so starting to feel old. And yeah, I feel like I'm kind of entering maybe a little bit of a new season of life where kids are starting to grow up a bit. So maybe that will give a bit more time for some drawing, which will be fun. I also too love Jesus. I was brought up in a Christian home, so it's been lovely to be able to be part of something that tells his story. And that's about it for me.
So you're making me feel guilty because I didn't mention my husband. My husband is amazing. He is the one who set up the camera for all of this. He is also a teacher, and we've been married for 19 years now, so that's also pretty cool. So I put out a post a couple of weeks ago asking for questions from people on Instagram and people on Facebook. A lot of people asked some questions on Instagram, so we're going to go through them one at a time and answer those questions for you.
So we want to know what inspired you to write this book.
Okay, so I have sort of briefly posted about it, so I'll just quickly do the genesis in case people haven't sort of gone through the story. I received this picture book as a child, and it's a personalised one, so it's one of those ones where the person sends in your name and the names of your siblings and dates of birth and all that kind of stuff, and you get this book and you are the hero of the story. And so Leslie Jones back then is the hero of the story, and my two brothers came on the trip with me to discover the true meaning of Christmas, which according to this book is peace, which I mean, it's not a bad message, but I feel like it kind of missed the point a little bit. And so I thought to myself a couple of Christmases ago, I think it was 2018, might have been 2017, I can't really remember, that I wanted to do a story for my children about the true meaning of Christmas, and I wanted to put them in the story. And it was just going to be like a short little picture book. You can see there's hardly any text on those pages. And so I started to do that, but I'm like, okay, I wrote the prologue, they're going back in time, this is amazing. I put them back in time. I realized that if they're going to spend 9 months with Mary during her whole pregnancy, that was not going to be a good idea because it was going to just blossom. So I'm like, no, I'm just going to be really succinct. I'm going to drop them back in there just before they go to Bethlehem. Then I realized that that was a problem because my daughter would freak out if she went back in time. And so I needed to have like a little bit of emotional reaction. And then that ended up being about 2,000 words of that first chapter, and it hadn't even left Nazareth. So I realized that I had a chapter book on my hand and not a picture book. Anyway, so I wrote the, basically I wanted to be true to the characters of my children as they were at the time. So my daughter obviously had a lot more anxiety back then, and so I knew that that was something she would have to be working through in the story. My son is autistic, and he has his own little quirks and stuff, and I wanted to remain true to those in the story. And so my goal became not so much rushing through the story as quickly as I could, but really working through who my children were at the time, and how they would interact with Mary and Joseph, and the idea of witnessing Jesus' birth, and their biblical knowledge coming through as they sort of were teaching lessons to Mary and Joseph, and learning from Mary and Joseph in their lessons of faith and trust.
Yeah. And can I just say,
yes,
that is something that I love about this book, is that you've brought such a realness in with Hannah and Josh and what they've gone through. And I really think that people will identify with it personally or for their kids and what they're going through with their kids. Yeah, it's really lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't cry. No, it's really lovely, and they're learning through it. Like, there's character development through it as well. So I think that's really special.
Yeah, and so the first chapter, you may have seen in posts, and my daughter's review was that she cried when she read the first chapter, and she was actually a little bit traumatized because I'm going to attribute it to my amazing skill as a writer, that she was so perfectly depicted on the page that she found it a little bit difficult to separate the reality from the fiction. And I didn't want to go a magic route when I wrote the time travel, so I chose to make it a miracle, but they have such a strong understanding of children, like God can do anything. And so now I just open up to Hannah the idea that God could, if he wanted to, send her back in time. And so then for a few nights she had issues getting to sleep because she was worried that God was going to decide that she needed to learn those lessons in person. So I don't think that's going to happen to your children. I don't think that they're going to cry when they read the story. That's not my heart for them. But yeah, so I printed it out, just a little paper copy. My husband did a few little line drawings for it, and I'd always wanted something a little bit more, but obviously that didn't happen at that stage. Just quickly, and then I printed out like a proper copy, just a little one for us and for Mandy, just to have, and then that obviously evolved into what we see today, which is amazing. How long have you been drawing and illustrating?
Okay, well, illustrating, this is really my first book as a proper illustrator, which is very exciting. My husband has been telling me for years and years, you must illustrate a book. And something that I had, I certainly wasn't opposed to it. I guess life is busy and just without that opportunity. And over the years I had different ideas of different children's stories and that kind of thing, and illustrations that would go with them. But because the writing part wouldn't be my strength, then I guess it never really came. I would just kind of have little ideas. But so this would be my first book as an illustrator. And as far as drawing, I can't remember when I first started drawing. So I've certainly always loved art and pursued art at school and did different art classes and stuff. And it really, again, it's just been probably a matter of time that I feel like that I haven't ever really developed as a proper artist. It would be more just things that I would do on the side or on holidays when you kind of have that time to be creative. So it is something that I would love to pursue more and really develop my own little unique style. But I guess, we're just available to God, and he just uses those gifts when he wants to. But it would be, for me, very much a big part of my life. I see very visually.
That's the complete opposite to me.
So I'm the one at church that's taking the sermon notes in the forms of illustrations.
Nice. Oh dear.
So that would be the answer to that question for me. So second one for you, how many hours goes into writing a book like this?
So if you're just talking first draft, I think I had the idea in September or October of the year that I wrote it, whatever year that was. Then I had that stalled start where I tried to put them back in time too early, and so I left it for a little while. And then probably started writing it really quite seriously in November. Back then I was only writing about 1,000 words a week. Now I'm kind of trying to write 2,000 words a day, so I've kind of obviously amped up my production. Yes. So I had so much research to do as well for it. I had to research Nazareth, I had to research Bethlehem, I had to research what the travel would have been like and the topographical maps and what the Jordan River would have looked like and what food they would have eaten and what they would have worn. So if you're including those hours, that probably increases it a little bit more as well. So an hour number, I don't know. I know that I was working very frantically the week before Christmas, like 5 hours a night. just to try to get it finished in time.
You actually had this finished for Christmas.
Yeah, I had it finished for Christmas. I printed this one out. I wrapped it up, and I don't normally let the kids open a present before Christmas, but like before church. But I was so excited. I said, you can have one present, and you have to open this one. And so I gave it to them, and Joshy.
Did they get to read it before church?
Well, Joshy actually snuck it into church and read it during church. And so he devoured it and was quite non-committal about his opinion about it. So I was so excited, like, you have to read this book. I wrote it for you and you're in it. So yeah, I don't know, probably percolating as an idea, maybe 4 months, actually writing probably 6 weeks for the first draft, not including any editing or proofreading or any of the other publishing stuff. So it's only 12,000 words, so yeah, so I'm going to say 6 weeks. I'm not going to give you an hour amount because I couldn't possibly. But yeah.
Yes, you can't put hours on things like that.
I mean, I guess you could track the hours, but then that would take the joy out of it. Dear. Sure. Okay, so your second question, Mandy, was what style of illustration did you use and how did you choose to use that style?
Okay, so we chatted about what illustrations would work. So I think, first of all, it was no colour. You said that, didn't you?
Yeah,
I
remember that.
So I wanted something a little bit more than just a line drawing or a pencil drawing, and so I think I quickly went to charcoal in my mind, thinking, okay, well, we can work with charcoal, it can give that nice tone and depth and shadows and all that kind of stuff, but and replace colour, I suppose. I do love charcoal. I've done some charcoal drawings in my life, and I love working with it. It's very, very messy.
Yes.
And my bench, by the end of doing all this, the last rush in the week was just kind of black. We get all black down here, black on the floor. But it is fun, and I do love doing these. These are our original ones here that I sent through to Lesley, and then you obviously scanned them through, and so I just worked on A4 sizes. Yeah, you guys are really missing out because these illustrations are in much more depth and detail than was able to be portrayed in the book, but these are beautiful. So not too big, and kept it more kind of line drawings because they're quite small. Then I kept that nice little those. Not too much of shading, and I did a lot of going back and forth because I was still kind of trying to work out my my style, and so I kind of started and kept going along, and then as it kind of progressed, then I'd go back and touch up the first one and the second one, and just to try and keep them kind of all uniform. And sounds like writing. You write the first chapter and then you write the next bit, and you're like, oh, I'll go back and tweak that. Yes, and then it's got to they've got to kind of all work together. What was your process in terms of creating illustrations? So I felt very at liberty from the writer to kind of come up with some ideas. I think I read through the story, and then my brain came up with a lot of pictures, which was good because you told me, what is it about writers when they have blank walls? White room syndrome. Okay, yes. So there was no white room syndrome happening. Okay. I was getting lots of pictures. And so I think, I said, I can't even remember. I think I asked you, should I just come up with some little ideas and then we'll talk them over. So I did. I just did some sketches. And they were very easy to find. I think each chapter there was kind of just some real pertinent parts that I just thought, that's what we need to draw. Yeah. So I sketched them out, and then I met with you and we chatted over them. I don't think there were too many. I think we wanted to add a couple. I don't know if we. I think I thought everything you did was perfect. That's my recollection of it anyway. But I think we did add maybe one or two more just so that we had 3 per chapter. Yes. Yeah. So that was all. So I found that really quite nice and easy. And then I guess what a good thing was, I've got 2 children who are similar ages to Hannah and Josh. And so as I started to kind of put these together, I had some pictures. So Lesley had sent through some pictures of Hannah and Josh, and I myself just drew some kind of close-up pictures of them, just so I had that a little bit in my mind. And then I used my girls a lot in kind of positioning them.
Yes.
So I kind of went through and did some rough drawings, and then I kind of went over then and got the kids in their position, took some photos, and like some of them, I think it was the one, is it maybe, oh, I can't remember. Actually, maybe it was that one right at the start. Yeah, with the toes and the Chocolate Mary in the background. And the one where Mary's leaning against the tree here.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, there would have been about like 5 different photos all in there because, you know, I had, so Talitha was my Mary
Yes.
pose with kind of something in her belly. And I kind of posed her, and then I took another one with someone else. And so I do feel like I probably made the process a bit longer than what I should have, but it was all learning and piecing them together and everything. So that's how I went about it. And then what was really fun was I actually hadn't even read the story to my little girls because I'd read it and then I was kind of thinking illustrating it and then getting them to pose and stuff. And it was kind of halfway through that I'm like, I haven't even read the story.
They didn't know what they're acting out.
So we sat down and read the story and they loved it. And as the book was unfolding, then they're like, oh, the well, yes.
Yeah,
we did that thing and you made us. And so it was kind of cool. They'd always acted the story and then I read it to them. And so that was nice. That was nice for them to discover it in that way. So, that was my process in illustrating your book.
Yeah, I remember the girls coming to school sometimes and being like, oh, Mum was taking photos of us today. We're going to be in your book. So I think they were probably more proud, or maybe not. They were pretty chuffed that you were doing it.
That's something that, I mean, even with Andrew, my husband, telling me, you must illustrate a book, and then the girls being involved in the process, and that, you know, coming to school and going back and talking, it's actually really, it's very special, and I'm sure that you feel it too, to be in a family where it's like you're all celebrating your achievements together.
Yeah, that's right.
And I feel that they're just as proud in being a part of it. It's really lovely. Very lovely.
It's amazing.
Okay, are there any more books in the series, and when can we read them?
Well, there are actually more books in the series. Surprise, surprise. So Mandy's actually, I'm so thankful, agreed to illustrate the second book, which is Return to Bethlehem. And that book tells the story of the 3 wise men, because...
The 3 wise men?
Yeah, the 3 wise men. Well, there's not actually 3. There's more than 3, because it doesn't say in the Bible that there are 3. The wise men. Thank you. So it's kind of a little bit more of a spy sort of theme. It's from Joshua's perspective, which I feel like gives it a little bit of a different tone, but I still sort of interesting as they're sort of navigating being in Jerusalem and Herod's palace, and then they do get to go see Mary and Jesus and Joseph very briefly. They have a little cameo appearance, and then there's the whole story of the babies and all that kind of stuff. So that's book 2. I have written the first draft of book 3 and book 4. So book 4 is this year's Christmas present, which I've already done, and it's not Christmas Eve. Oh, wow. So I feel like I'm growing as a person. Last year's present wasn't done until the middle of February, but it's okay. So and then there'll be one more that's going to be the Easter story. So
5 books in the
5
series.
Books in the series.
Very exciting. Yes. And you're up to 3.
4. Yes. So the book 3 is Lost in Jerusalem, which is the story of Jesus as a 12-year-old boy, and that is done. And I finished Called to Galilee, I think in August, which is the main story, I guess, is the calming of the storm, and that's again about doubt and trust, and that's from Joshua's perspective as well. So
and I did love the second book from Joshua's perspective.
Oh, good.
Like I was saying before, I think it's beautiful. That quirkiness, and I think, really powerful, particularly parents with autistic kids, and being able to really identify, and the kids themselves,
just seeing themselves
to be able to read that and see the strengths and everything through that. I think it could be a real blessing.
What picture took you the longest? We were talking about this before and we weren't quite sure. Have you decided?
I feel like the beginning ones probably took the longest because I was still working out my style and still working out. I was kind of doing them a bit freehand, and then I really needed photos, and then, you know, having to tweak and everything. So the ones at the start, yes, probably took the longest in a way. I know I did have to work a lot on the angel scene, so that was this one here, just trying to get it kind of simple, and not too, and the angels sometimes can look a little bit too, you know, mystical or whatever, and wanting to kind of have that light. And anyway, so that one, I know that I had to kind of work on that one a little bit, but probably more than anything those beginning ones, just to work out how I was going to go about it, because I was all very new at it all. So
the hours definitely paid off. Like I'm fairly certain I cried when I got them. That's so beautiful. Like, and it felt like the experience of working with Mandy was amazing, because I felt like she took what was in my head and just put it on the page. It's almost like you had like a scan in my brain. It was like, this is what I saw. And then you just put it onto the page so beautifully.
So you do realise that that's your value as a writer, not me.
Oh, thank you. But you do think visually.
If we're seeing the same thing, it's because of your words. So yes.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so have you written any other books other than the 5 that we've heard about in this series?
Yeah.
Any other books, Lesley?
So I have an adult fantasy book called Remnant, which I published in 2009, and I'm planning on re-releasing next year, because I'm hoping that as a writer I have grown since 2009, and I could actually probably make it a bit better.
Wow. So you're like
Yeah, so I'm going to actually do a huge overhaul, like rewriting, editing, just fixing it up, and kind of like the theme that I was going for. I'd just become a Christian in 1999. When did I become a Christian? 2000. So I started writing it in 1997 when I was in year 10, I think, or year 11. Yeah. And it took me like 12 years to write, so my brain was developing still.
So you actually became a Christian halfway through the writing of that.
Yeah, and so the theme like that I started off with, and then sort of moved on to, I really wanted to deal with the issue of atonement and self-sacrifice and that kind of thing through the fantasy setting. And I don't know how well I accomplished it. To be honest, I haven't reread it since it's been published, because it's too embarrassing to kind of see that that's on the page. But yeah, so I'm hoping to rehaul that next year, redesign the cover and all that kind of stuff. And then... So
will you keep... Will the theme kind of...
Yeah, so I like the theme, and I just think I want to tighten it and just sort of make it come through a little bit more clearly.
Yep.
Yeah. And I also have a short book of true stories about teaching in rural Australia, which I'm a co-author for, which you can also buy on Amazon if you're interested in finding some of the crazy things that happen in schools. All names have been changed to protect the identities of the innocent, or the not so innocent in some cases. But yes, that's all I've got out there at the moment. What about you? So we already discussed that you haven't illustrated any other books yet, and you're planning to illustrate Return to Bethlehem, but do you have anything else that you think you might do now that you've sparked off from those stories?
No, I don't have anything, really set, but I think what this has done is shown me that I've enjoyed doing it. I work really well to a deadline. Yeah. So even in this whole experience, there was kind of months and months that it was just, going around, and it wasn't until Leslie's like, right, this is I think I asked for a deadline.
Yes, give me something.
You've been very gracious in, just whenever, and I'm just like, no, I need a deadline. And then my family can tell you about those 2 weeks leading up to that deadline. It was kind of, that's all that I did. But I tend to work a little bit like that. Yeah. For better or for worse. And so I don't think without something like this, then I would tend to do too much art unless I had, something to work towards. So, so who knows? Maybe something more might come of this, maybe through this book. Then people might see that. And I don't have my heart set on anything too much, but we'll see. But I do know it's something that Andrew has always said, do. Yes. So he was very happy for me to do it, and we'll see what else comes up.
Amazing. Well, maybe we'll do like an actual children's book one time, and you can help me like
colour.
Yes, colour. Yeah, definitely colour. Yes. That's the plan. We'll have to work on that.
Yes, that'll be cool.
Which illustration is your favourite? And that was for both of us. And mine is... I think we have the same answer, don't we?
We both agree.
Yeah, we both agree that the illustration of Jesus at the end is our favourite.
I think it's because it's Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
I think it's because it's Jesus. So now I had a lot of fun doing this, and I think, like what we were saying, just the reality of the birth and the stable and the mess and the muck and everything, and it was just like Jesus was a baby and he cried and he was cute, and we don't kind of often have that picture in a nativity scene. So that one, and then I actually did love also the one where they're all sleeping together.
Oh yeah, I love that one too.
On the way. And again, I think what I wanted to bring into the pictures was, again, just a little bit of realness and holding hands and that cuddling, and I think because the nativity scene is just done over and over, well then we kind of think of them as Mary in blue and Joseph with a beard, and that's kind of it, but not the humanness in it all. So, and that's what I enjoyed bringing in to the illustrations, just that little bit of little details of humanness.
Yeah, I love the I love them all, but I love Jesus obviously the most. But just some of the ones you did of Mary, just with her leaning against a tree, just you get that sense of exhaustion, and any woman who's ever been pregnant knows what the feeling of exhaustion is like, and I feel like Mandy just captures that emotion and that heart of what it would have been like for her to do that journey. It wouldn't have been something that was easy. And just to see that, and even like the joy of the children playing in the water, it's just really beautiful. Our next question: how did you decide to work on this book together? We had to compare our stories before we started.
She's not making it up.
Yeah, that's right. So Mandy and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the first memory I have of you is at the Baptist playgroup when my son was a little baby, and it might have been when he was a child, or it might have been when Hannah was a child, I can't really remember, but Mandy read this book called 1 O'Clock Miracle, and if you haven't read it, it's an amazing, beautiful picture book, and everyone should go out and buy it. It's just beautiful. And afterwards I came up and I was so captivated by the illustrations and by the writing, and we were talking about it, and I can't remember, maybe Mandy knew I was a writer, but she said, we should write and illustrate a book together. And I was like, yeah, we should. And totally, one of those things that you just be like, that'd be nice one day. Yeah. But just tucked in the back of my head. And so when I asked my husband to illustrate, it wasn't his passion to do that. And I thought, well, maybe Mandy would be interested. So that's how I asked her. But did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, well, I think just the fact that as soon as you asked me, it was like, yes, I'd love to. Like, there was nothing, nothing stopping me at all. So I think, definitely meant to be, and obviously something that was on my mind for a long time anyway. I knew that I would have full support from the family. And it was exciting, actually. It was exciting just to kind of have something to work towards. So I don't know, I feel like it's obviously very biblical that God gives us gifts and talents to use for his glory, and I just feel like this project is like that perfect encapsulation of your talents as an illustrator, and hopefully the talents that I have as a writer, so that we can just put this out into the world to hopefully encourage someone. Which kind of moves on to the last question for us both together is, what are your hopes for this book? Do you have any hopes for this book, Mandy? Yes, just for God to be glorified through our writing and drawing, and for people to be drawn into more of a reality of Jesus, who really did live a life on this earth, and for the kids to go back and kind of experience that it just makes it that little bit more real. So I think, and for children, particularly in such a visual and movie kind of society, for them to be able to read the book and kind of be there in the story, then I think bringing that reality into people's lives, I think that it has great potential to do that, particularly with children, taking them into that story.
So for me, my heart is obviously to see God glorified through the book, and just, I don't know, like my story about peace, like that's one part of Christmas, because Jesus is the great bringer of peace. But just to have that truth out there as well. Like there's so many more aspects to who God is than just peace. and yeah, that he is love and that he is sacrifice and he is redemption. And yeah, this is just the beginning of the story, and I just want to bring that to life for people to read, maybe people who haven't heard the story before, maybe to encourage. I feel like this is, like, while I aimed it for my young children, I feel like it's a book that can be enjoyed by the whole family. Just to glorify God and to honour him and to tell the true story in the midst of all the materialism of Christmas. Just to get that truth out there, and hopefully bring it full circle and find out what the end point of that was in book 5 when I write it. So we just have one question, which is not a question that anyone's asked, but I'm sure it's on everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
Where can we buy this book? Because it's an amazing book. So obviously you can see that there is a tremendously large stack of books in front of me. So you can purchase it from me, $10, and if you are in Australia, I will post it to you with the additional cost of postage. If you would prefer to purchase it on Amazon, it is available on Amazon from today. In Australia, in the UK, in America, you can purchase it anywhere around the world. Now that I have my copies, I'm also going to be sending a copy to Koorong to hopefully get it into bookstores. You can request it at your library, and they can also purchase a copy for the library if you would like to do that. You can request it from your bookstore, and they potentially can get it in. So it's published through Torn Curtain Publishing. So that's a lovely Christian company. Just give them a little plug. So it should be able to be purchased through bookstores if you would like to go in and do that as well. But yeah, it's out there. It's in the world. You can access it today. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. We were joking about saying like and subscribe, but don't you don't have to do that. Thank you for spending this half an hour with us this morning. We're so excited. I'm excited.
Yes,
I'm assuming excited.
Yes,
we're both excited. Everyone's excited. My family's excited. Mandy's family is excited. And we just really hope and pray that you guys enjoy this book, and just all thanks to Jesus as well. Like, so many people have helped out in so many different ways. Our families in particular have borne the cost of our spending hours doing stuff probably too late at night sometimes. But Jesus, without him, like, there would be no story. So so
are we having
Snowy
special feature?
Snowy the Owl is just making a cameo appearance. Apparently he is going to become a famous YouTube star one day, so this is his moment of fame. So Snowy says bye.